back up.
Be short and sweet today, they say.
Maybe.
There's a few old guard here. Show you some here.
And it's so perfect. Look.
That's right. I took my time on that one.
There you go.
Like a low rider in this chair. They don't adjust either, do they? I don't know. No, they don't. Not yours. That's good.
I bet you're wondering where the other one went.
Uh-oh.
All right. I bet you were wondering who squirreled that away. This one's pretty too. Well, the other one
Mysteriously disappeared.
the other one walked off.
That might be a bad omen.
Oh, it's in my truck. Sorry. I wanted a souvenir.
Right. Excuse me.
I feel like we're at church today. Everybody's so quiet.
Oh, okay. And the rest of
I'm getting sneezing. I can't sneeze.
I went in that gas station and they had all those Snickers with home.
That's a good picture.
I couldn't believe it right by the register. Are those new? Is that a new thing?
No, it's been about 4 or 5 years.
I didn't have one yet. They're on my
Did
to-do
you buy
list.
one?
No. But I will.
It's funny. They are delicious, I can tell you that. Good schedule.
Yeah. All right. Call this meeting to order. Good morning.
Morning.
Roll call.
Happy New Year to
Happy
everyone.
New Year. Woo-hoo.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Happy New Year. Commissioner Chase.
Here.
Commissioner Salopek.
Present.
Commissioner Rickliffs.
Here.
Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Vice Chairman Montoya.
Here.
Chairman Kinzel.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Right on. Thank you. Can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Go first. We'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. Thanks.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the public. I'm Cummins. I'm the Assistant Director for the Resource Division, Department of Game and Fish.
I'm Rear Rank Cutthroat Trap Biologist. My name is Tucker Brower for New Mexico Game and Fish.
Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. I'm Lance Cherry. I'm the Chief of the Information and Education Division for New Mexico Department of Game and Fish.
Good morning, I'm Robert Griego, I'm the Colonel of Field Operations.
I'm Alexa Henry, the editor of the Department of Wildlife Magazine.
Good morning, Kurt Patton, Chief Fisheries for the Department of Game and Fish.
How'd you get that gig?
God lucky.
John Crenshaw, New Mexico Wildlife Federation, former chief of I&E, former editor of New Mexico Wildlife.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the public. Stuart Wiley, Chief of Wildlife.
Hi, Jackson. I'm Captain Field Operator.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Michael Thomas. I'm the Accountant Attorney for the Department of Game and Fish.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Martin Correa, Duty Officer.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jennifer Montreal, and I am the paralegal for the department.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Joseph Piano, and I'm the Accountant Auditor for the Department of Game and Fish.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Ivy Vigil. I'm the new Budget Director for the Department of Game and Fish.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Paul Varela. I'm the Chief of Administrative Services for the Department of Game and Fish.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Sheila Herrera. I'm the Senior Manager with Montana.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Michael Dax, the Defenders of Wildlife.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Colleen King, Mexico Regional Director of the Native Foundation.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Rule.
Good morning, Russ Podolsky. I'm the Game and Fish Chief Information Officer.
Good morning, Matt Winter, Chief of Ecological Environmental Planning Division for Game and Fish and Central.
Good morning, I'm Leticia Lee. I'm Guide and Outfitter Program Manager.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Steve Little, Captain for the Northwest area.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Darrell Cole. I'm the Verification Program Manager with the Office.
Good morning, everybody. Alan Duff. I'm our Southern Major for the Field Operations.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Ray Sanchez. I'm Major of Northern Field Operations for the Game.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Tristiana Bickford. I'm the Department's Communications Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the public. Ross Morgan, I'm the Public Information Officer for the Department of Communications.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Sandra Duchamp. I'm the Executive Assistant to the Director.
Good morning. You're not a guest.
I don't have a label other than attorney. I am counsel. My name is Meredith Foley. I'm Assistant Attorney General.
Well, welcome, everyone. Good morning. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the November 30, 2018 Roswell regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Agenda item number 7, election of chair and vice chair of the State Game Commission.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, in all due respect to our honorable governor and her leadership team, I would like to table agenda item number 7, election of chair and vice chair, in order to allow us transition time to embrace the Governor Grisham's leadership, goals, and direction with our Game and Fish Commission. I also want to add, if this motion fails to due to a lack of second, with respect, I wish to abstain myself from the action agenda item. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I move to table action item number 7.
Director, can we table this item?
Mr. Chairman, I believe pursuant to Statute 1714, there's a requirement that this commission meet annually and elect at a minimum a chair. So this is, you elected one a year ago, you're due for another election.
Is there any second on the motion or discussion of the motion that's on the table? Hearing no second, the motion fails. Is there any other motion anyone wishes to make on agenda item number 7?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to keep you as our chairman. Paul Kinzel is our chairman of the commission. I think he's done an excellent job, professional leadership, and I make a motion for that.
Second? Second. Second from Commissioner Rickliffs. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it with one abstention.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to make a motion to keep Bill Montoya as our vice chairman. I think he's done an excellent job also, and I appreciate his experience that he has and all the input that he puts in. So,
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it with one abstention. Well, thank you. My tenure may be short-lived, but I'll continue to do the best that I can. Thank you for your confidence in me. I appreciate it. Agenda item number 8, revocations.
This one's short.
Is everybody behaving better?
Mr. Chairman, yes, sir.
That's good news.
At this point, they are. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It didn't work, did it? All right, now we're up and running. So agenda item number 8, revocations and suspensions. Today, it is very short. We'll only have one group. Also, pursuant to 19.31.2 NMAC, we're here to let you know that 88 individuals were suspended for failure to be in compliance with the Parental Responsibility Act, and 19 individuals were suspended for failure to pay a penalty assessment. And for vote today, we have one group, and that's the revocation of 11 individuals who received 20 or more violation points in a 30-day period, were sent notices of contemplated action, and did not request a hearing. We'll entertain a motion at this time.
Brevity, I like that. Thank you. Can I get a motion on group number 1, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the recommendation of the department and revoke all license privileges of those 11 individuals for the length of time recommended.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Do you need action on the parental responsibility?
No, sir.
Okay. Agenda item number 9. Mary Lou, you're on the mic. Is this the same as last year's resolution?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Talk about action.
Since it's in.
Go ahead.
Don't let them fool you. What you see on the screen is not what's up there.
What do I have to make it move?
Push the little keys.
Great. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, every year we need to do this. We go over the reasonable notice for all meetings as required by the Open Meetings Act. Today you're going to adopt a resolution to either continue or amend the practices for reasonable notice of meetings. Your resolution has some other information in it, such as commissioners attending by phone and closed session. Those topics are not flexible, so we're really just looking at reasonable notice. 10 days for regular, 3 days for special, 24-hour notice for emergency meetings. The agenda timeline, 72 hours for regular and special, 24 hours for emergency. Other than the annual dates on this resolution, there are no proposed changes. So this screen is really the only changes made are where the purple is, Mr. Chair. And this is your recommended motion.
Okay. I feel like I've done this before. Can I get a motion on our open meetings resolution?
Mr. Chairman, the New Mexico Attorney General's Office recommends the Commission moves to adopt the proposed 2019 open meetings resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Agenda item number 10, future meeting schedule and locations.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here to present some tentative meetings, meeting dates and locations for the upcoming year. I'll give you guys an opportunity to review those and open it up for discussion. Oh, did I forget? Son of a gun.
Everybody like the dates?
Yeah, I'll give you a chance to review those now. Sorry about that.
I personally liked it, no meetings.
Well, you
The
only
first
have,
screen.
You only have to have one.
These are still on, Mr. Chairman, these are still on Thursdays?
They are. All the meetings that you see here are scheduled on a Thursday.
Okay.
We also looked at the State Rules Act, and these meeting dates will fit within those parameters laid out in the State Rules Act. And we have a number of rules that will be up for adoption this year or amendment.
You've gamed it out so we can meet those deadlines. For the rules that Baron Cougar, for instance, you've got it gamed out so we can publish and do all that.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know what the commission's thoughts are, but I know we have a outstanding facility in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we have a meeting room that was built for commission meetings, and I see that we're only going to utilize that one time. I feel that in order to utilize our taxpayers' buildings to the fullest, I'd like to see if we can maybe amend those couple of those locations to that facility. It seems to be a central location for everyone, but I know there's commissioners throughout the whole state, and I'd like to entertain a discussion on that.
Mr. Chairman, you look at this schedule, I'm not going to disagree with Ralph. I think that's why we built it, but you start looking at where us commissioners are from, and I think it covers all of our cities. For this year, I would think it's set, but I would hope that next year, agreeing with Commissioner Ramos, that maybe 2 or 3 can be in Albuquerque next year. I personally like this, where we haven't been to Farmington in a while, and Cloudcroft's interesting. I've never been there as far as a meeting. I'd like to see it stay the same. This year, with what Commissioner Ramos said, next year, maybe 2 or 3 of the meetings in Albuquerque.
Is the Roswell office going to be done by then? It should be, right?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, it will be. It should be done mid-April, actually.
Okay. And I was just I know we had talked about that when we first, had our meeting there the last time we were there. Commissioners from Farmington and Roswell, what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I don't mind driving to Roswell if he doesn't mind driving to Farmington. And if we have a special meeting, I think we could utilize Albuquerque for those special meetings.
Yep.
I really don't mind driving. I like seeing the different towns too.
I do too. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but aren't we required to visit the rest of the state at a certain amount of time?
I'd love to have them in Albuquerque because it's across the street for me, but I would gently suggest that as a courtesy to the other people that we serve in the state,
absolutely,
we might continue to wheel around because sometimes it's the only opportunity people get to come to a meeting. We haven't traditionally opened these up to video or teleconference, allowing a different mode of participation by the public, and so maybe this is only the opportunity to put our pretty faces in front of the public. And sometimes it's never by design, but sometimes the issue that's of importance to that community is actually on an agenda, and sometimes we get either in that community or within that. So it's a balancing act. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just we want to do right by the public as well. Some people love Albuquerque. Some people hate it. Some people would prefer to be out in some of the rural communities as well. So,
and I respect everyone on that. I do like the way you did distribute the locations this year. I think it's a great combination on that. Also, looking at weather and things like that. With the snow and also the warm weather in the summer, Angel Fire, Farmington, Cloudcroft. I do like the locations. It's just to maximize the usage of the building. I thought I'd just throw that out there, but I appreciate the input.
We can add a meeting in July in Albuquerque if you want. Instead of going dark.
Mr. Chairman, I would point out that I think we'll be doing a great deal of education in public meetings at the Albuquerque and the Roswell office over the course of the next year.
Well, let's.
I like this.
I like it.
And I agree with Commissioner Peterson that special meetings can surely be inadequate. But personally, I was sure hoping there'd be one in Columbus. I've never been there.
Are you going to be working on the border wall? Because that's right where it's at.
Some nice sandstorms.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Jim, I see that all dates are on Thursday. Sorry I asked a question. I didn't read far enough.
Any further discussion? Can I get a motion on this item, please?
Where is the motion?
I think you just moved to adopt the
I'll move to adopt
schedule and
the
location.
meeting scheduled for the year 2019.
Second.
January 2020.
As listed?
Yeah,
As listed.
Okay.
As listed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The agenda item I've been waiting for, number 11, fiscal year 2018 department audit results and review. Do we get a passing grade?
We do, or you
All right.
do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Agenda item 11 is fiscal year 2018 department audit results and review. Seated here with me today is Sheila Herrera from Moss Adams, and she will briefly go over the 2018 department's financial audit.
Good morning. In accordance with the state audit rule, the independent auditor is required to present the issued financial statements to the commission. And so the state auditor has approved the financial statements that you have in front of you and has released them in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. You're required to approve them. There are a few things to note. The opinion itself is considered an unmodified, clean opinion. There was no significant issues required to report. We did have 2 findings included in the financial statements. If you look in the back, starting on page 59, we have 1 significant deficiency related to suspension and debarment that has since been corrected by the department. And then the second one is related to a mileage rate that was being used for their federal funding, and that has also been corrected. The financial statements themselves, we did not have any adjustments that were required to be submitted to the Department of Finance and Authority, and we did not have any other material adjustments or other material matters that we have to report. Are there any questions?
So did we get the highest grade you could, if that's what you call it?
Yes.
Wanted to make a point of it. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone. Everyone is really very responsive and does a great job here.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this requires a motion.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Can I get a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the department's audit report for fiscal year 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Good work.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, congratulations.
Agenda item number 12, department's 2018 accomplishments.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, there'll be several of us sitting before you today to discuss the 2018 accomplishments in the department. And I get the pleasure of talking about the Information and Education Division to start off with. 2018 was a good year for us. And beginning first with the department's education programs, starting with hunter education, the department continued to expand services to New Mexico's future hunters and anglers and provided additional educational opportunities to help students in New Mexico safely participate in hunting and shooting sports. This year we had over 160 programs and certified nearly 4,000 new hunters in New Mexico. The Hunter Ed program continued to offer traditional field day live fire classes. We have online courses. We did camps. We offered after-school programs. This year's camps were held in Carlsbad, Mimbres, Chimayo, Mora, Sacramento, and Cimarron. Our online courses have expanded. The department now offers Calcamay's huntereducation.com, Fresh Air Educators course, and a free NRA online course as well. Provides a variety of options for students to be successful within our program. New schools that were added this year to our after-school programs included Moriarty Edgewood Schools, Red Mountain Middle School in Deming, Chaves County Public Schools, and Artesia Public Schools. Camino Real in Las Cruces, Hatch Valley Public Schools, Mesa Alta Middle School in Bloomfield as well. The department's Hunter Ed program also completed the new program for Hunter Education Camp Masters. That allows our volunteers an opportunity to take the lead on some of our hunter education and hunting camps around the state and provides them the training that they had desired for at least the past year to get them the skill set necessary to feel comfortable in that environment. The department's Responsible Hunter program also continues to grow, providing New Mexico's hunters and shooting sports enthusiasts advanced hunter education training. In those programs, we teach the fundamentals of outdoor skills such as orienteering, wildlife identification, hunting and environmental ethics. We teach hunting skills, tracking, game calling, care of game, and game habitat management within those courses. This year, we did countless hunting camps. We also completed the Youth Hunter Ed Challenge, which was an absolutely wonderful event again this year. Continues to grow and continues to be a positive program for the department. We did the Northern New Mexico Clay Target Challenge, and the youth shotgun teams continue to get financial support from the department through this program. This program is also the program that has been responsible and charged with developing new shooting ranges in New Mexico. And 3 of those ranges, which we'll talk about a little bit later today, that are on tap and working in progress are Clayton, Albuquerque, and Clovis, as you might all know. The department's archery program continues to be the fastest growing NASP program in the West. This past year, our program reached more than 28,000 students. At the state tournament, we had more than 800 archers compete, and the program also offers bow hunter education, summer camps, and advanced archery skills education, all of which were courses that we offered throughout the year. One of the big accomplishments during the course of this year that I'm really proud of was the program's partnership that was with the Veterans Administration Leadership Program. They held the Golden Age Games in Albuquerque this past year, and we had more than 1,000 senior military veteran athletes compete from across the nation. They compete in a variety of sports, and the department took the lead on the archery program side of that competition. On aquatic education, continues to be a standout program. With that one, we had offered more than 243 fishing skills camps, fly fishing workshops. We also provide the trout in the classroom, where native trout are grown, or I'm going to step back a minute, a native trout program as well, and water quality monitoring and after-school programs. The Trout in the Classroom program this year was picked up by 18 schools, and we worked with 819 students that raised rainbow trout, grew them up to fry, and released them into public waters. This year, we also participated with Albuquerque Public Schools on a huge summer program. We taught more than 50 teachers how to deliver aquatic education at that program. We were hand in hand with them throughout it, and we had more than 650 K through 8 students attend that particular event, which led up to fishing at Tingley Beach for 8 consecutive days. We also helped the Heart Gallery program, which is with CYFD, conduct an adoption event. We provided an outlet for them to fish with prospective kids that they would be adopting. There were more than 65 kids at that event and 130 adults, and that was held at the Pecos National Historical Park. We continue to do advanced workshops, classroom presentations, wildlife trunks, BioBlitz weekends, bird watching tours, habitat programs, and HERP programs as well. And then, of course, we also participated at the Festival of the Cranes.
What's a BioBlitz?
A BioBlitz is a weekend, typically runs over the course of a weekend, and we bring out professionals and citizen scientists, that's a nice way of saying public who's interested in science, and we come out and inventory a property. We will do bird counts and herp counts and mammal counts and look at the habitat that surrounds it. We had a very successful event on that front at Mesilla Valley this year.
So how big an area do you cover in a weekend?
It just depends on the property that we targeted. So for Mesilla Valley, we covered the entire property, so hundreds of acres. And like I said, it just really depends on the location that we select when we conduct those.
What's the work product that comes out of that?
So the end product out of a weekend like that is literally a good inventory of the wildlife and habitat that exists within a property area.
So do you write a report, or what's the...
We do, Mr. Chairman. We do publish reports when those things are completed.
And then pictures?
Mr. Chairman, lots of pictures.
I can understand the pictures. I may not be able to read the report, but I can get those.
Mr. Chairman, there's also a huge learning component in all of this. So all of the things that are collected, there are a bunch of kids there that get introduced to what is the species.
Does that information make it into our chat tool, or is it provide or input into that?
Mr. Chairman, when we conduct those events, we do spread that all over social media. We post that stuff, particularly to our education sites.
Chat tool, the critical habitat something, CHAT.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not completely sure if it does or does not.
Okay. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, I was just curious. Thank you. I monopolized all your time.
Mr. Chairman, can I go and interject on this before I think you're going to move into kind of a different subject here with the off-highway vehicle? But I do want to just commend the department on the growth that we've done and the progress that we've shown. I think we're the type that we put a program out there, we reflect, and we have to maybe do some rapid resets to make things bigger and better. And I think as we reflect on what we've already accomplished, we have some good programs going. In fact, I definitely want to mention that this semester, starting last Monday, we're making history in Las Cruces, where we have hunter education actually being taught in the public schools as part of the course curriculum. And the reason why I bring that up, not only because it's at my school, but I really want to challenge the department. I think right now is the perfect time to bridge and articulate bridge that gap to really reach out to the Department of Education now with Governor Grisham and her education staff to really be open-minded to possibly I would like to see our department come up with a curriculum that's aligned to middle school objectives as well as high school courses that can be implemented into either a PE or a science class or possibly even an FFA chapter, type of curriculum that really embeds hunter education, aquaculture, natural resources, habitat, and as well as the hunter sports that we offer. But I think now's the time to really step it up a little bit more, get some course codes out there that principals could implement into their master schedule building, which would make it easier for them to be able to justify through superintendents of different levels and and philosophies, whether they want to allow hunter education in the public schools or not. It's safe to do that. With online going on, as well as in the classroom instruction and working those two together, I think we have a lot of kids out there that have they have to find their niche. And I think one thing that we really need to explore is all the different career opportunities that I see in this room that really have to be showcased and marketed to students to set those goals and market our own toil to bring in more employees. So I think we're moving forward. I think it's a celebration at this point where we're at, but I think we have a long way to go, and I'd love to be part of that opportunity to help us grow to make New Mexico stronger and better. It was really disappointing this morning when I saw the Albuquerque News and they were saying again, New Mexico is the worst place to raise a family. And I think these are the things with our traditions that we have and our opportunities that we have in New Mexico. Let's make it grow and foster.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, I concur on so much of that. And so we are continuing to work on these programs to grow and reach those new audiences and expand. And we're excited about the direction we're headed.
And one last thing is, and I don't know what your goals are with that, Lance, but I'd like for you to possibly share those with me at one point. If I can definitely get involved with either committee work, and I don't know how your distributive leadership within your department and getting all your employees involved to really reflect on all the different models that are out there in the country to really make this thing go forward. I know we've had this conversation, probably my same comments I did a year ago, but I really want it to move forward and get some momentum.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, so noted.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to the off-highway vehicle program. As you know, the programs this past year is focused heavily on education, offering both free online courses and hands-on off-highway vehicle training. This is the program that provides a safety permit required for public land use and paved road operation of OHVs. This past year, our program conducted more than a dozen classes to law enforcement and fire departments and certified more than 350 new students and officers. They provided more than 20 hands-on OHV courses, certified over 170 students, and they also certified more than 335 students through the online course option as well. The program attended more than 27 outreach events statewide, and two of the most significant projects and outcomes from that program this year include the BLM Glade Run Recreation Area, where the department put $600,000 in capital outlay to improve, develop the OHV staging area, training areas, create a tot lot for training, set up skills courses, maintain the trail system, built 10 camping sites, improved access, and built an actual entrance where you can find this location very easily. It's a project that has garnered national attention and is an absolute first-rate OHV experience out there. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see it, I highly encourage it. The second part is that we've begun work with the Mazanita Mountain Trail System. It's a $200,000 project that's on track to be completed this next year. And what it'll do is also expand the trail system that's there, particularly a 12-mile stretch of OHV trails that needed some minor restoration work and add in some concrete and dealing with some erosion issues as well. It's a project that a lot of the OHV community has really been excited about. And then the final big thing that occurred within the OHV program this year is that we're one of the first states to get our Safety SAM, which is a robotic OHV robot that we're able to take into the classroom, and it's completely geared up with a headset, so a live person actually stands behind it. Safety SAM can roll around a classroom, talk about OHV, teach students and families how to safely operate OHVs. It's a really cool tool, and now having that in our hands is going to allow us some new opportunities to get out in front of publics that haven't really been open to having us out there yet. On the information front, the department has done quite a bit. This past year, we did over 200 targeted messages, dumped out more than 87 press releases that promoted the initiatives and activities of the department. We reached out to more than 337,984, which isn't more than, that's an exact number, media outlets that we reached with our messages this year. We also reached countless partners and customers through our message. The department also produced and printed more than 800,000 publications, hard copies of publications this year, which included 516,000 rules and information books. It's always a feat in itself to get those things out. And what's really quite interesting about that is that our customer base honestly downloads the electronic version far more than the printed copy. And that's not to say that we're at a spot to reduce printed copies drastically, because those go out the door as well. It just says that we get that information out in a lot of people's hands in this state. The department also had the 2018 Governor Special Hunt Auction. This was a great event that was run in conjunction with the outdoor show. We had over 5,000 attendees to that show, and we raised over $207,000. That's always a great way to kick off the year, and of course, those always start off usually here in February, and we have the next one coming up, and again, it'll be another great way to kick off 2019 for the department and for I&E. The department also attended countless fairs and expos and special events, and just about everywhere across the state that something was going on, our people were showing up and participating. We hosted that Mesilla Valley Bio Blitz, as I described, and that was incredibly successful for us. And then we pushed out thousands and thousands of messages across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube this year, and continue to grow our follower base at about a 10% rate each year. And then the last thing I'm going to cough up to you guys here on this one is our Wildlife magazine. We dropped a copy off in front of each of you guys. I'm really excited that is back in the hopper for us this year. This year's feature, now that it's back out in print, contains news, hunting, fishing tips, stories on the Rocky Mountain Bighorn sheep survey, habitat, wetlands, waterfowl hunting opportunities, a story about coatis, burrowing owls. It's just packed full of tons and tons of information and lots of stories. If you're not interested in one story, I'm quite certain you'll be interested in another. We push out over 300,000 copies of that magazine statewide, and we have a readership of roughly 1.2 million each year for this product. And then it just kind of fell out of line on me, so I apologize for that. But on our volunteer program, I just wanted to report at this point, we have grown the program to over 1,000 certified volunteers. The department's online system is up and fully functional. We are starting to see an increase in the number of people express an interest in registering to get involved with the department. And so in the coming year, we'll be focusing a lot of attention on tapping that resource and utilizing them in a very powerful way for the department on countless projects across all divisions.
Question? What is the date for the governor's auction? February.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the banquet is scheduled for February 16th.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rick Lifts and Director Sloan. That is correct. It will be held on the 16th of February.
And could I ask there was a trail system, Masalito, where is that? What is that?
The Manzanita Trail System is located basically in the Manzano Mountains, Sandia Mountain Range, very close to Albuquerque.
Thank you.
Chairman, Lance, just one other. How frequent are we utilizing the Facebook? Is it happening daily? Instagram, are we taking advantage of that? Because it doesn't seem as they're happening daily, and I think you all are doing a whole lot more where there should be action happening, and that's what keeps people coming back every day. And maybe we can join it with Instagram, doing it through both, and then YouTube, tying it into that. But I think daily happenings is what keeps people coming back, and then, of course, video and pictures, consistently with that.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, the department does post daily across those social medias, and if you're not seeing them on a daily basis, I would be the first to tell you you're being victimized by Facebook's horrible algorithm. I encourage you to hit our Facebook page at least every now and then so that algorithm sees that it's highly interesting content to you and will continue to feed that in your post. If you go static for a period of time, it'll only show that to you sporadically.
Possibly that's what's happening. And do some of these articles that are in here, are they being posted and where people can see it?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, absolutely. Not only do we cross-post those across social media, we actually have a microsite within the department's website, and that microsite is this magazine publication electronically through and through. So each story has its own page, has dynamic content. It allows a search function that you just don't get in printed copy these days. And there's just a tremendous amount of content that's available going back to several years ago when we first published that. And so, I'd encourage you to hit that magazine site, microsite as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you and good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Lance, I just want to commend the department for all they've done, especially on that Glade Run. I mean, that's my backyard, and a lot of people use that. We get people from all over the country in there to use it, and it's a first-class facility. So just want to commend for all the work you've done on that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Peterson, I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Lance, I got to ask you, on page 9 of this thing, you've got a humongous desert sheep in the lower right corner. Don't tell me where it's at, but that's in New Mexico?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, absolutely.
You can tell me after the meeting where it's at. But
and you'll actually get a good chuckle out of how we captured that image so close. It's a good story in itself.
Thank you.
All right.
I think that's the one we released over in Unit 34.
Any other questions or comments on this one?
Well
okay.
done.
Good job. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Agenda item number 13, update on development of shooting ranges in New Mexico.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to let you know that we have several more divisions to go through there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Be a little quicker, but
I
we want to make sure you understand what we've done.
I jumped the gun.
Good try, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll start with, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Director Sloan and the Commission. I've been the Colonel of Field Operations for over 6 years now, and this is the first opportunity we've received to actually present our accomplishments and statistics to the Commission, so I do thank you for that. I'll start with this year in field operations. In 2018, started the year with Corporal Tyson Sanders was the recipient of our 2018 Shikar Safari Officer of the Year, Wildlife Officer of the Year Award. This is our most prestigious award in New Mexico for law enforcement. It's a national award. To receive this award, you have to be a highly dedicated individual that shines in all aspects as a conservation officer, to include public relations, wildlife management, extreme knowledge of hunting, fishing, and trapping, and as well as having an effective law enforcement presence. To be a effective conservation officer, it's got to be a lifestyle, not just a job, and it takes significant support from the families to do that. As you can see, Corporal Tyson Sanders' family is very supportive, and because of that, he succeeds. Just as a side note to that, his wife Jessica also received New Mexico Top Teacher of the Year award. So that family is obviously doing something right. Pretty good family. I'll start with Southeast Area Education Outreach and Community Involvement. The Southeast Area Field Operations, just field operation officers, organized approximately 88 public outreach and education events that reached over 13,000 individuals in the field. The Southeast area as a whole participated in 118 public events that were either put on by the department, other divisions, or other organizations. Some of those big outreach events are listed. One good one, that 5th Annual Youth 3D Shoot, is a 3D shoot that was initiated by game warden in Ruidoso. He did it with on his own time and started it, and that developed. It started getting so big that we jumped on board as field ops and actually purchased that officer some 3D targets so he could continue with that endeavor. He gets a lot of donations, and he's actually getting hundreds of participants at that 3D shoot now. It's been a very successful event. Another event that's been pretty successful across the state that the Southeast has been doing annually is the Shop with a Hero event. That's where less fortunate kids get to go shopping with a law enforcement officer, and they've been highly involved in that. It's been a fantastic program. In the Southwest, we had a conservation officer develop a turkey hunt in which they took 9 or 10 kids that were accompanied by one parent. None of the participants had ever been turkey hunting before, and they took them turkey hunting for 2.5 days. Unfortunately, no turkeys were harmed, but they had a great time, learned how to call turkeys, learned about habitat, learned about the frustration of what the wind does to a turkey hunt, but they had a great time. We camped with them, we fed them. It was a fantastic hunt, and we had some prizes and gadgets donated by Cabela's and Sportsman's Warehouse for those kids. All of the parents reached out to us and said that they will, without a doubt, continue to take their kids turkey hunting. So it was a fantastic event. Also in the Southwest, TRC has what they call a fun day. There was 200 participants in TRC that received information from the department on NASP, wildlife conservation, and firearm safety. We had the pellet gun trailer there, obviously some 3D targets, some wildlife identification. The Southwest area in general participated in 127 public outreach events in 2018. In the Northwest area, they participated in 115 public events throughout the Northwest. Some of the big ones were the San Juan County Kids Fishing Clinic, the youth turkey hunts, the Bernardo Youth Pheasant Hunt, to which, for that Bernardo Youth Turkey Hunt, our Conservation Officers Association purchases all the pheasants for that hunt to put that hunt on at our Bernardo Wildlife Area. It's a fantastic hunt that we're involved in. In the Northeast area, they participated in 73 public outreach events. Many of the big ones are listed below. And Field Ops as a whole participated in 433 conservation education events or presentations in 2018. So it takes a significant portion of a conservation officer's year. They're pretty highly involved in all of this education and public outreach. All of the officers highly enjoy getting around those kids and teaching them what they know, answering their questions. This year we had some pretty unique situations that dealt with rogue wildlife or rogue animals being around our wildlife. Recently, we got a call that there was 17 goats found on the Caballo Mountains amongst our desert bighorn sheep. Our officers immediately responded to the area. They found the goats, and we gave it the name of Operation Goat Rope. And it got dark on them the first day, and they went back in early with a trailer, and they were able to gather up the 17 goats and get them trailered. As they hauled them back off the mountain, held them at Sergeant Van Landingham's house for a couple days. He found out quickly why they were so hard to keep in a pen. They were pretty good escape artists, so he was actually having to feed them every couple hours just to keep them enticed to staying in the pen. They were able to track down the owner, and the owner had lost those goats about 2 months earlier. There was 27 when they started, and those goats had traveled approximately 30 miles to where they were found by our officers. We did talk to the owner and educated them on the importance of maintaining those goats in the pen and the concerns with disease with our bighorn sheep, and they understood. They were pretty good folks about it, but it was a pretty good story anyways. Then a few weeks after that, we had got a call about bighorn sheep near the Dry Cimarron that was intermingling with a bunch of cattle. He's a young ram, and he was actually chasing those heifers pretty good. He would not leave them alone. We tried hazing them for a while. That was not working. So finally our officers went in there and darted the ram in the wind with a pretty long shot, and were able to get him removed, and we worked in conjunction with WMD on that one to get that ram moved and relocated. The last one of that probably 2 or 3 week period, we had one of our officers receive a call. If you look at that picture in the top left-hand corner, that's obviously a pretty decent ibex, and that ibex was found in the middle of the San Andreas on the White Sounds Missile Range, again amongst our bighorn sheep. We had obviously a concern with that, so we did go in there and lethally remove that ibex, but it was not anywhere near as easy as it initially planned out. That officer in the snow and fog ended up having to make approximately a 600-yard shot on that, and he was patting himself on the back pretty good, but it got dark on him, so he went in the next day to retrieve his dead ibex with his 600-yard shot just to find that it was still alive. He did not pack a rifle up the second time.
There you go.
So all he had was his duty handgun at that point. Needless to say, he did get it. Where that goat ended up was on a sheer face with that was approximately about 200-foot fall. Our officer, Captain Mike Matthews, is afraid of heights, and he still managed to get up there and retrieve that ibex, and we took it to get tested to see if there's any disease factor with that. I will say on all of these cases, this was very short notice to our officers, but they came through and accomplished the task flawlessly. With our law enforcement effort, our officers made some great cases throughout the year that involved the illegal taking of our wildlife resource. Our officers last year made approximately 68,500 hunter, angler, and trapper checks in 2018. They served approximately 44 search warrants and 49 arrest warrants, and they spent approximately 47,000 hours in the field patrolling. So when you combine that with our public outreach, they're pretty busy guys and gals. Some of those pictures there, if you look at the one in the middle, that was a good case. During the holiday season, we had some oil field workers that were living on a well pad that we got report that they had killed a couple deer. The officers went in there under a thorough investigation and found out that they had actually killed 2 or 3 deer and buried the remains there at the well pad. And they were able to get those uncovered and make a pretty good prosecution on that case.
Were those people from out of town? Or were they
out of state?
Out of state?
They were residents of Texas, but they were working in the oil field in New Mexico. So in 2018, field operations performed 196 special operations. Special operations are your saturation patrols, your night patrols, airplanes, special patrols such as that. We also performed 76 artificial wildlife operations, which are our decoy operations. We had also 45 roadblocks that were used across the state. This case, the pictures you see below are in the northeast area. We had a concerned citizen send a picture to one of our officers that he saw on Instagram. He felt that there was something fishy about that individual in that case. That officer, if you notice that mesa in the background, that officer recognized that area. He went to the location and photographed it, and found out that that's in GMU 42, and at that time there was not a deer hunt going on in that unit. So he was able to take that information, find the suspect, do a thorough investigation and interview, and got a full confession and made a pretty good case out of that one.
They make it so easy for you sometimes.
Sometimes it's nice.
It's unbelievable.
Pretty nice to have a landmark like that.
Yeah.
So our game wardens are now certified to run a backhoe to look for evidence?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Through our Operation Game Thief program in 2018, we received approximately 177 Operation Game Thief reports. Of those 177 reports, 53 crimes were discovered. And when a crime is discovered, our conviction rate is over 80% with those OGTs when we discover a crime.
Is there a reward for those OGT?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. There are rewards, and this year so far, our first time in a long time, that so far our fines are larger than the amount of reward money we're putting out. Usually it's the converse, that we're paying more reward money than we're getting in fines for all those cases. So right now, as of right now, they're being fined a little bit more than we're having to pay out.
Bobby, where does that money come from, the Operation Game Thief money?
Operation Game Thief money is all donations by our citizens that donate to the program. Yeah, there is no sportsman's dollars or tax dollars that go to that. It's all donation.
And how is that looking?
It's good. We're continuing. Captain Jackson is doing a real good job about outreach, and we're trying to get more citizens involved with the program. A lot of people would be highly interested in it. Some just don't know about it. So we are doing some outreach to get citizens involved and know about the program and know that it's tax deductible to donate to us. In the last few years, we've gotten fortunate and had some significant donations in the thousands of dollars that have helped.
Bobby, and maybe that's where we need to also bring that up at our auction that we have coming up in February, and maybe, Lance, we can market that a little bit more on Facebook or whatnot. See what we can do to bring in more revenue on that.
We can pass around a tip jar.
Good. And I think with what you're showing here that it does work, and advertising that would be great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Question, Bobby. When somebody turns somebody in, when do they get their money? After the conviction? through the courts, or how does it work?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salopek, though they receive a reward if we file charges.
Okay.
So once we file those charges, we know we've got enough probable cause to go forward with charges. They receive a reward.
Thank you.
Those two pictures you see below are both two separate Operation Game Thief reports. Both of those deer were killed with rifles during an archery season. Actually, the one on the left was killed the day before archery season opened, but both of those were OGT reports in the Southwest, and both of those cases were solved and prosecuted.
All for the big buck.
A significant portion of our conservation officer's job is also public safety. Recently, with the last couple big storms that we had hit northern New Mexico and central New Mexico, our officers were out assisting state police with several, really there was several hundred stranded motorists, but we had our officers that were assisting motorists that were stranded for over 8 hours in single-digit temperatures with their families. It was a pretty significant issue. Our officers were trying to help with crashes. They were trying to push people out of snowbanks and get people warmed up during that whole two storms. There were 2 or 3 fatalities during those 2 or 3 storms. State police had 2 or 3 of their marked units that were run into and crashed. Fortunately, our officers and their four-wheel drives were able to get far enough off the road when they assisted that we didn't have that issue. But that post on the right is from State Police Public Affairs that was just thanking our officers for being out there on short notice with their four-wheel drives. So it was pretty significant.
Colonel Grego, Officer Jason Klein also gave mouth-to-mouth to someone out there in the Lincoln as well. Can you talk about that?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, yes, Sergeant Klein, unfortunately, this year has had 2 cases where he's having to give CPR to individuals out in the field for significant amounts of time, 30, 45 minutes, which is pretty taxing on an individual. It's pretty taxing on the officer to be in that situation and have someone not make it in front of you. But he has had a couple of those this year. But unfortunately, in both of those instances, it didn't pan out. But he dang sure wasn't from lack of effort. Also, with these winter storms, I'm sure some of you all saw on Facebook, social media, we had some hunters, a family out of Carlsbad that were stranded. They assumed lost for 3 or 4 days, and our officers were instrumental when they were found on going in on a snowcat and retrieving that family and getting them to safety also. Some more public safety. Our officers were instrumental also this summer with the wildfires in providing security, roadblocks, and evacuations for many of the citizens throughout the state where we had those large fires. The pictures on top where we were on roadblocks, the picture on the bottom was there in Farmington as they were getting water, and we were providing security, keeping people off the water as they retrieved water to fight those fires. Unfortunately, in 2018, we also had 3 bear attacks. Our field ops started, or the department started, a wildlife attack response team in 2015. We had all the officers trained in wildlife attack response, and then of those, we picked 10 officers that were highly dedicated to evidence collection, thoroughness, and the ability to track and get into this backcountry, and we sent them off for additional training to assist on these wildlife attacks. So we did have, like I said, those 3. One of the bears, one of the attacks, we didn't receive information till late. We went into the scene and processed it, but we were unable to locate that bear. The other two we were able to locate and make positive DNA matches to know that we got the specific offending bear. We had one case in Cloudcroft this year in the Sacramento Mountains where an individual was attacked. He was feeding several hundred pounds of corn, dog food, and cat food over time. And with trail cameras, we were able to identify 17 different bears that were coming onto his property. We did have to lethally remove some bears, but through DNA tests, we did lethally remove the offending bear that attacked him in that case. And as of yesterday, that case was completed, and that individual pled guilty to creating a wildlife nuisance and paid a $700 fine. And at that point, this is just the tip of the tip, really, for us, but that's what I have.
One more question, Bobby. Back up to the Secure Safari Award and elaborate on that. We've had that for about 50 years, and I think you can explain a little bit of what and where it originated, or not originated, but who it comes from, et cetera.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, the Shikar Safari is a conservation organization that provides the award, and it goes to an officer, a law enforcement officer, wildlife officer in each state that has gone above and beyond in not only wildlife law enforcement, but the total conservation officer concept of making a difference with the public, sound wildlife management, as well as a strong law enforcement effort. The way you are correct, Commissioner Montoya, in that it's probably been right around 50 years that we've been given that award. It is a highly prestigious award, and we've always included the families with that award because, like I said, it takes a pretty good support group to be a well-rounded conservation officer. It's a lot of cold meals, a lot of missed birthdays, first days of school, holidays. So it takes a significant support from the family for those officers to get to the point where they're considered for that award. We take nominations from across the state. It doesn't matter how long they've been with the department, but typically the winners of that award are getting close to that 10-year range where they've got a pretty good body of work that goes with it. We take those nominations, and there's all the captains, the majors, and myself. We review all those awards or those nominations and make a determination based on that.
Any further questions from the commissioners?
I have some comments, and Colonel, I just want to, I'm actually flabbergasted that we have this presentation. I've been wanting to see this for quite some time. I've asked for it, and I'm glad we have it. Director Sloan, thanks for getting this presentation. I know that the stigma sometimes, just like state police or any police officer, is sometimes negative. But I also see you all in career days in public schools, and I'm sure all your game wardens have, reached out to principals and education as well. But you guys do so much, and I really thank you guys. You guys are really heroes out there, in the trenches throughout these little communities where state police or sheriff's department aren't available, and just everything you do from the public outreach and everything. But I'd like to see this presentation at least maybe twice a year or so. But good job, and thanks for all you do, and thank you to all the game wardens and law enforcement people that are out there. We appreciate everything you do.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Colonel, I'd also like to commend your department for the dedication and the positive impact that they're having on our communities. I have one question. Are you aware of a Hunt for the Hungry program? I had somebody ask me about it, and I'd never heard of it. And
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Peterson, that is correct. We do have one in New Mexico. We put a significant effort into it the last couple of years. I've not heard much about it this year, but we did get some meat processors engaged in that, where sportsmen can take their wildlife to those areas to be processed and disseminated to those needy families. It's a fantastic program. Comparatively, the issue in New Mexico or in the West compared to the East is the volume of animals that each individual can take. In the East, where you can kill 15 or 20 deer, they're a lot more successful because there's so many animals. Here in the West, where you get one every few years, there's just less opportunity to donate, but we do have that. And then all of our officers, as we get seized wildlife, whether we're taking it in a case or it's something that was hit by a vehicle and is salvageable, all of our officers are aware of the needy families in their communities, and although we can't give it to them, we sell it to those individuals for dirt cheap.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure. I'd never heard about it, and didn't know if we could maybe put some type of information in our hunting pamphlet that that's available for people to do.
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Thank you.
Bobby, one last thing. I know you send us the landowner contacts that I didn't see on your presentation above that, all the time that takes place. If you could talk about that a little bit more.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, the landowner contacts, again, that's just a smattering of the amount of contacts that our officers make on a daily and much less a weekly basis. To be an effective conservation officer, because there's only about 75 across the state, we are highly dependent on our citizens, our ranchers, to be our eyes and ears. So they're a pretty significant part of the job is that public relations and getting to know the people of your community, and especially the landowners that are out outside of town. So they do that pretty consistent. And whether it's stopping by a ranch for coffee or going into town at the local coffee shop and talking to the old guys, that's just what they do. But yes, that we have been documenting those for probably a little over a year now.
Thank you.
Right on.
All right.
Great job. Good year. Looking forward to another one.
One quick note on the tobacco case with the two guys you were asking about. This commission revoked them for 5 years each at 2 or 3 commission meetings ago.
All right.
Good.
Thank you. For the backhoe case.
Oh, gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm here to provide you with a brief overview of the Environmental and Ecological Environmental Planning Division activities for 2018. Unlike the field ops and a lot of the other divisions in the department, we don't get in as much field time as some of the others, but we do get a little bit in, so I thought I would lead with that. Mark Watson, our terrestrial wildlife habitat specialist, has consistently over the last number of years been the observer on the annual waterfowl surveys, and this is the nationwide survey. Every January they run those. In fact, he's flying today as the last day of this year's survey, and he has consistently been an observer on that. So that's been an opportunity to provide a significant contribution to the department. One of the other things that Mark has been working on is he's the point person for our wildlife vehicle collision avoidance initiative within the department. And he's worked on a number of projects, including Tijeras Canyon. And most recently, in 2018, he was working with the Department of Transportation on the effort to provide fencing along I-25 through Raton and develop those underpasses where the wildlife could cross the interstate without fear of being killed.
So he helped with the design and implementation of that, and that has led into planning for an extension of that project, which will provide fencing to the Colorado border, where it'll meet up with fencing that is in Colorado, along with some underpasses. So Mark has been one of the division staff that has gotten out into the field a fair amount. I'm using the same photo because it, I didn't want to lead with a picture of an environmental impact statement. I didn't think that would gather much interest. But so our aquatic habitat specialist, Malia Volke, has been working over the course of 2018 to plan and implement a riparian restoration planting program in the Mills Canyon area in northeast New Mexico, and she'd been instrumental in the planning on that and contracting, and they had completed the planting on about 54 acres of riparian habitat, and that will be continuing through this year. In addition to that, Malia has developed for us a aquatic connectivity plan. Basically, it's the bridge and culvert construction guidelines for stream, riparian, and wetland habitats. And this is a handbook that when we get a consultation request that involves something like that, we'll make comments on a project and provide resources for the project proponents. And so she developed this bridge culvert construction guidelines to help ensure that when construction projects like that are implemented, we try to maintain aquatic connectivity so that fish and aquatic creatures can move up and downstream and avoid habitat isolation. In addition to that, our mining and energy habitat specialist, Ron Kellermuller, has been working pretty actively through this year, both looking at mining operations and providing input on those, but also working on our properties up in the Pecos Canyon, where we have the Pecos Mine and the mill site, the ongoing remediation effort there. We are working with Freeport-McMoRan to close out the mine site remediation project, and part of that was completing the groundwater quality monitoring at the Jamie Cook recreation area. And so over the course of the year, we had done 4 quarterly samples and had been working with the Environment Department to certify that, in fact, the groundwater in that area was up to standard. And so we were able to get a determination from the Environment Department and close out our water quality sampling there, and removed 8 of the monitoring wells that had been put in there. So those wells have been decommissioned. As a result of the activities up there, the Environment Department also was interested in some of the groundwater contamination, potential groundwater contamination at the Lisboa Springs fish hatchery, because back years ago, a fair amount of mine tailings were used for fill at the fish hatchery, and so there was concern about whether or not there was going to be groundwater contamination from that. And so we worked to install a water quality monitoring well at the fish hatchery, and we have conducted, we've had 2 quarterly samples so far looking at the water, the groundwater at the hatchery. And at this point, we do have exceedances of chromium and iron. And so we continue to work with the Environment Department to ascertain. We've got 2 more quarters of sampling to complete a year's worth of sampling to give them a good idea of exactly what the situation is up there. And once that's determined, then it'll be a question of deciding what can and should be done about that. In addition to those activities, the bulk of the work within the division primarily is responding to requests from project proponents. They generally want to build something, or it's an environmental impact statement or something, that we get requests for consultation on those. And in 2018, we got 606 requests for consultation. Of those 606 requests, we provided 420 responses, and of those, 99 were what we call custom responses. And these are fairly complex projects, oftentimes, that require fairly thorough analysis of, oftentimes we'll get inch-thick environmental impact statements, or you've got a major mine operation that the terrestrial habitat or the mining habitat specialist or the aquatic specialist will look at and provide comments as to how they can best avoid impacts to wildlife and their habitats. So that is, the bulk of what the technical guidance program does. In addition to that, within the division, we have the Share with Wildlife program, and this is the voluntary contribution program from residents and citizens of New Mexico, and in fact, potentially across the country, where they provide money in the form of either donations, tax checkoffs, or the wildlife license plate sales. And this money is used to match against state wildlife grant funding. And in 2018, we funded 10 projects, 6 research, 3 wildlife rehabilitation facilities, and 1 education program. And the rehabilitation facilities are a benefit to the department because it helps relieve some of the demands on the field officers. When somebody comes up and they find an injured animal or a baby or whatever that they want something done with. We support the rehabilitation facilities because these are places where these animals can be taken and cared for and appropriately rehabilitated, ideally released, and if not, found homes, oftentimes with educational programs. So in addition to those 10 projects that were funded for 2018, Virginia Seamster, the program coordinator, put out a call for projects. We got 29 projects submitted to the department, which were reviewed, and selected 12 of those projects for implementation starting in 2019. The other project or program that Virginia works on is the Biota Information System of New Mexico. And this is the online information system about all of the wildlife in New Mexico. And this is a program that's been up and running for years, but it was cobbled together, and by cobbled together I mean the programming that set up the website to do this has been an evolution, and because it's been an evolution over time, it wasn't a particularly efficient or effective process. And so this year we worked with Natural Heritage and programmers to completely upgrade the script for the program. And so it completely rewrote the code, and it streamlined and enhanced the search and data entry functions, because it's an ongoing process of adding new information as it becomes available for any species. Providing a search function makes it easy for people who are looking for information on particular species, whether that's an individual species or then a species in a county or a geographic area. So that was all enhanced. It also enabled us to better improve data quality monitoring so that we can ensure that the data that goes into the system is the best that it can be. And it also helped us we were able to develop a help page for those users that were having problems or having questions using the field or the program. And then this was linked to our environmental review tool, which I will touch base on here in a few minutes. Earlier, a question came up about the Crucial Habitat Assessment Tool, also known as the CHAT. We have been working with WAFWA. We worked years ago with Western Governors Association to develop this west-wide landscape scale planning system, and we developed the New Mexico component of that. And that process, or that system, has moved over now until WAFWA has taken it over from the Western Governors Association, and they continue to use it for large-scale, west-wide landscape conservation planning. And they've also, much of the discussion this past year has been about how that system can be used by WAFWA as a platform for some of the other data that they are able to generate. In particular, things like wildlife migration corridors. That's the sort of information that can be introduced into this chat and is accessible to project planners to see where, if you have a large-scale project, where would the, and you know where the footprint is, you can get a sense of how much impact there will be on wildlife habitats, whether that habitat is very important or less important. So we've been continuing to work on that. Another program that we've been working on is we've been working with Natural Heritage in New Mexico to develop a statewide riparian habitat map. And this is a very detailed, up-to-date map looking at the habitats in the riparian areas across the state. We feel this is going to be especially useful in large measure because New Mexico being a dry state, riparian and aquatic habitats are especially important. And, some of our figures suggest that, up to 85% of the species in New Mexico have needs for riparian habitat at some point or another during their lifestyle. So although riparian habitat is fairly small, 1 or 2% of the state, it is, overwhelmingly important for wildlife of the state. And so Malia has been working with Natural Heritage, and in this last year, they completed the Upper Rio Grande watershed mapping. Another thing that we worked on and we completed early this year is we'd worked with the law enforcement division that is managing the scientific and educational collecting permits, and we've been issuing permits for years and years and years for scientists that want to collect wildlife for studies or for educational purposes. And so whenever somebody does that, they're issued a permit. They're issued a permit, they go and they do their collections, and then they make reports to the department. And so we developed a web-based database system so that it facilitates issuing those permits, getting that information from the person that's seeking the permit. You can get it into a permit. That permit is maintained in the system. When the reports come back, that information then provides location data on much of the wildlife that was collected, so that information can be included in databases. So we have it increases our understanding of the distribution of wildlife across the state. So again, we completed this process early this year, and I believe it has been pretty effective in helping manage the scientific collection permits. We've also been working this year to develop a web-based version of the State Wildlife Action Plan that we completed several years ago. We are well into that process, and I expect that will be completed by mid-year 2019. And the purpose of this is essentially to make what is essentially a large, cumbersome document, about 400 pages, make this much more accessible and useful to a wider array of potential users. And so that is an ongoing program. The last thing I want to touch on is a project that we started last year, and it went live this spring, and this is our environmental review tool. As I mentioned earlier, we get, this last year we got in excess of 600 requests for consultation on potential projects that potentially could impact wildlife. Some of these are fairly large, large mines, power distribution lines, pipelines, environmental impact statements, and these are all things that require a great deal of work and custom analysis. But we also get the bulk of ours come for projects that are much smaller, and sometimes things like if you have a project that's receiving federal funding, such as upgrading HUD housing in an urban area, oftentimes they have to get a checkoff from the State Wildlife Agency that this will not have an impact on wildlife. And so we get a lot of projects like that. We get things like installation of cell towers across the state, which have a very small footprint, and a lot of those are in urban and developed areas. So this environmental review tool we've developed with assistance from Natural Heritage allows project proponents to put information into the system on a web-based platform. They can put the information in, and for some of these smaller footprints, things in urban areas that we know have very little impact on wildlife, these project proponents can put that information in and get a response immediately. the system will generate a response saying that we don't anticipate that this project will have any significant impact on wildlife. And then if that's a requirement for federal funding, they can take that and meet that requirement. And it reduces the demand on the staff that, spend, they have to spend a fair amount of time dealing with all these small projects that don't really have much impact on wildlife. And this system, we anticipate, will reduce that burden considerably and allow our habitat specialists to work on those projects that really do require, complex analysis and generating customized responses. It'll also provide an opportunity to manage the flow of information. So this environmental review tool will be linked ultimately to the State Wildlife Action Plan. It is linked to the Bison Biota Information System of New Mexico, so that we tie these systems together so that we make information especially easy for people to get and use. And with that, I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Questions?
Chairman, I do have some questions for you, Matt. First off, how much of our budget money goes into these projects? And I know they come from different sources and whatnot, federal, state, but how much is actually coming out of our department, for these projects, and just an estimate, what percentage?
Our budget is a little over $1 million, and the Share with Wildlife program, that is primarily the contributions, the private contributions, and that is matched against state wildlife grant funding. So that runs about $180,000 a year for that. We have a wildlife grant that supports the technical guidance program, which is the bulk of this project, of the division budget, and that supports staff time, myself, the other staff in the division. We have several components within that. There's an information collection system for some of the threatened endangered species that we're trying to gather information on to better manage that. So that's several $100,000 a year for salaries in some of those projects. The riparian and aquatic map, that was a standalone grant project based on a wildlife grant, and that over the course of 5 years, that is it averages out to about $500,000 a year for that project, and that's matched with non-federal funds from Natural Heritage New Mexico. The SWAP revision and the environmental review tool, the SWAP or the web enabling is based on a grant that we had for the SWAP planning for a number of years. We're using up those funding, and that is matched with a non-federal match from Natural Heritage. And the environmental review tool, that is a wildlife grant that is also being matched with non-federal funds from the Natural Heritage. So under $2 million a year, basically, for the division budget.
And how many people work under your department?
We have 7 staff in the division, including our financial analyst.
And I see that you're definitely communicating with Lance. Lance, you're doing a good job also posting all the non-hunting, animal, environmental stuff on the website. Good work on that as well. And but have we reached out to and marketed our habitat improvement dollars or habitat improvement stamp to those non-hunting people as well? I know we had talked about that at one time. I know that when we did meet with some of those people, they weren't even aware of it. Of being able to purchase a habitat improvement stamp, just like sportsmen do to go out into the field. I know it's not that they have to purchase one, but I think some of those people would be willing to contribute to those improvements as well.
Right. The habitat stamp is a separate program, and Stuart is in a better position to address that.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Let's take a quick break. We've been going for an hour and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you up, or are we doing fish?
I did not say
you,
short. I did not.
You're last. You're last. All right. I'm up. Isn't there a rule of show business? Don't follow the fish?
We saved the fastest talker for last.
All right.
Who's that?
Stuart.
He knows to keep it short.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm going to provide the update for the Fisheries Management Division. Oh, a little loud. Okay. To start off with, I guess the foundation of what our division does is a rundown of a hatchery production for the year. Our six state fish hatcheries produced around 700,000 pounds of fish that were stocked into New Mexico waters this year. Most notable there are the rainbow trout production numbers. The vast majority of those fish, or those pounds, are catchables or larger. The incentive program where we started stocking a proportion of some waters allotment as 15-inch or so fish has been wildly popular over the past few years. Also notable there is the production and stocking of Gila trout from Glenwood Hatchery. This is the first time we have hatched, reared, and stocked Gila trout from a department facility in about 75 years. So that's kind of a big year for us there. Each year the legislature sets a target for us as far as pounds of fish that we need to produce. That target this year was 640,000 pounds. We exceeded that by about 60,000 pounds. We also have a target for angler satisfaction set by the legislature of about 85% satisfied anglers. This year, when we measured it in our annual surveys, it was about 90%. So we met both of those targets. Moving on to a couple capital projects that are one is almost complete, one is just getting underway as far as the on-the-ground stuff. Is the installation of these particulate vaults at Los Ojos Hatchery. The purpose of these is to help settle solids, whether it's excess feed or fish waste from being discharged back into waters of the state. So it's basically a water quality protection measure. It'll help us meet our Clean Water Act restrictions for that hatchery. We also are within within a week or so of advertising to replace a 3/4 mile pipeline at Red River Hatchery. This pipeline is about ready to, be completely unoperational. It supplies about a third of our water to the hatchery. That should be going out for bids soon, and hopefully will be complete sometime before the end of the fiscal year. Some of you might remember the devastating wildfires that we had back in 2012 and 2013 down in the southwest part of the state. The first was in the Whitewater Baldy Fire in 2012, and then the next was the Silver Fire of 2013. Both of those fires were in the heart of Gila trout country and really set back our conservation efforts for that native trout species about 10 to 15 years. Seizing upon that opportunity, we had a couple streams that were fishless. In the case of Whitewater Creek, it was almost fishless. There were a few non-native trout left. As you can see from those pictures on the left, this is incredibly remote, rugged, beautiful country. There's some fantastic fish habitat in there, trout habitat. It's lousy biologist habitat. In fact, in order to get this project done over the past 2 years, we've had to remove trees repeatedly from trails and actually rebuild some trails. We've done about 120 miles of trail clearing. That's just primarily for us, but it's opened up the country to hunters and anglers and other recreationalists. We have 32 helicopter flights to sling our gear and food and all of that to different parts of the state or of the project. This year we had 33 people on the ground in snow and rain for about 2 weeks in October. It also includes last year we had folks from Field Ops, I&E, Wildlife Management Division, so this is a true departmental effort. We also had about 253 mule loads taking all of our gear around to different parts of the watershed. Based upon the success of this project this year, we decided that we were going to stock Gila trout into the lower reach of Whitewater Creek on December 1st. We did a good job of publicizing this. We asked for volunteers from all over the state, had a couple people come from out of state to participate. Once we are done with this project, it'll be a total of about 23 new miles of Gila trout occupied habitat. That picture in the bottom right is a picture of a young man from Silver City who caught the first Gila trout on that day, and first Gila trout from Whitewater Creek in about, once again, 75, 80 years. So this was a good day for Gila trout, it's a good day for the department, good day for the community of Glenwood. Over the past several years, we've done several projects to improve habitat on the San Juan, or in the tailwater reach of the San Juan River below Navajo Dam. We continued that effort this past year and focusing on the Simone Canyon reach, if you're familiar with the area. In total, this project was about $1.5 million. We improved habitat of over about 1.5 miles by narrowing the stream channel, adding some habitat enhancement features. We improved riparian habitat with augmentation of depressional wetlands, which will seasonally hold water for waterfowl and other terrestrial species. And we also installed 2 concrete reinforced boat ramps, one of them in the Crusher Hole area and the other one in the Rainbow Lodge area on department property. We continued with aquatic invasive species efforts statewide. Together with department efforts and our partners, we've conducted over 40,000 inspections of boats from in-state and out-of-state locations. That represents boats coming from 41 different states. We also had a boat somehow come from the Northern Mariana Islands, which is in the South Pacific near the Philippines. So I guess aquatic invasive species efforts are truly a global concern. To date, all of our monitoring of New Mexico waters has detected no zebra or quagga mussels yet. And then just to conclude, some other notable accomplishments. There's no way I can capture all the things that our people have done this year, but there's a couple items that are noteworthy. The first is we had one of our biologists invited to participate in a survey down into interior Mexico to look for relic populations of Texas hornshell. It's an endangered mussel that we have significant habitat in southeast New Mexico. That biologist and his team that he was working with discovered at least one new population of Texas hornshell in Coahuila, Mexico. Potentially another, and then a couple other streams which could potentially be used as repatriation sites. So, it's great to have one of our biologists getting involved in international efforts in fisheries, but also it's a good thing for Texas hornshell conservation. Back in 2011, there was a massive wildfire up in the Jemez Mountains, which wiped out at least 2 Rio Grande cutthroat trout populations. Several other streams were inhabited by non-native trout. Over the years, those watersheds have recovered, and this year we did our first repatriation effort to the Rio Frijoles on Bandelier National Monument. That's a significant location because it's about 7 miles of habitat in total. All of those streams will get us about a net increase of about 30 miles of occupied habitat. But also, Bandelier has agreed to continue to allow angling there for this native trout. We've also are near completion of some largemouth bass research at Elephant Butte Reservoir. The purpose of this is to help us better understand the natal origin, or whether the bass in the reservoir result from stocking or from natural reproduction. It's pretty interesting work where you can cut the inner ear bone out of the fish, run a laser across it, and the isotopes incorporated into that bony structure will tell you whether or not it's from our hatchery, from another hatchery, or from Elephant Butte. So that's kind of a pretty neat research technology we're using at Elephant Butte, and it has applications to other waters in the state. And then finally, for several years, we've been working on spike dace repatriation into the San Francisco River down in the Gila area. This year, our biologists detected that those fish that were stocked had persisted and were reproducing. So we feel this is a big step towards recovering that species. And that is all I had. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
On the stocking of the cutthroat, the Gila cutthroat, are you looking at the 1,300 you did? Are you looking at trying to get a lot more per year, or what's the goal?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Salopek, this is just the first of many
Right.
stocking efforts. I think the day before that event, we put another couple thousand fry in, and then after some additional surveys farther up in the watershed, we'll be following that up with, I anticipate, stockings in the several thousands each year for 2 to 3 years.
As it stands now, which I'm sure me and Ralph are very happy because we're not getting chewed out by the fishermen over there because they're happy. But are they able to keep 1 or 2 fish in certain areas?
The regulations at that water will be 2 fish per day, and they can use any legal tackle.
Thank you. No, I appreciate what you all have done because there's a lot of happy people down there.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next player.
Next and last. I'll be quick. So I wanted to just highlight a few projects instead of kind of our overall accomplishments that we do on an annual basis or things like that, but just some highlights from this year that were unique compared to other years. And starting off with kind of a historic moment when we released black-footed ferrets to the Greg Moore Land and Cattle Ranch up in the northeast portion of the state. It's the first time the department has ever been in, or kind of the lead agency in the ferret reintroduction. Bermejo released some about 10 years ago. They failed. So these are the only ferrets in the wild in New Mexico or on the Moore Ranch. We've been monitoring them. We released 8 in September and plan to go back again in the next fall with another release. And I think it was really unique. Greg got a lot of the landowners around the area kind of excited about it, and we have a lot more people trying to contact us to maybe contribute towards ferret recovery across New Mexico.
Cool.
Another big moment that happened for the department or the division this year was the release of bighorn in the Sacramento Mountains. Bighorn have been almost extirpated from the Sacramentos for 100 years, so it's pretty unique. We released 33 bighorn in the Sacramentos. As you can see, there are a pretty long line of people watching their sheep being released. It was a really big public outreach for that community in Alamogordo, and the sheep are doing well. We plan to go back with another release probably in 2 years, not next fall, but the fall after, to continue augmenting this population. But again, it's the first time sheep have been present on that mountain range, on that escarpment for almost 100 years, so a big success there. Another big project we had was moving 100 pronghorn to Mexico, and this was no small feat. It took the whole department on this. It took working with the Mexican government, working in Mexico City on permits, etc. We were working on permits with Mexico City while pronghorn were actually in traps and trailers. So we were able to capture almost 250 pronghorn in one go. We've never been able to catch that many. We had some pretty interesting times at the corral to where they almost tore it down with that many in there. But we moved 100 to the border, and those animals made it across, and they're now in 2 different release areas in the state of Chihuahua, just south of Nuevo Casas Grandes in Mexico, and it's very successful. In Mexico, pronghorn are listed as an endangered species, so this is a huge step towards recovery of and delisting off of the endangered species list in Mexico towards getting them there. In return, we'll be receiving 100 Gould's turkeys in the next couple of years from the country of Mexico and most likely from the state of Chihuahua. Another big thing that happened, we touched on this briefly at a different commission meeting, was the department initiated its first ever controlled burn. This controlled burn was 1,100 piles in the Colin Neblett Wildlife Management Area, and it really created a nice fire break, and we almost got to test the fire break this year with the Ute Park fire. When that fire was going on, they were trying to find defense points to stop that fire if it were to move to the west. And the number one defense point, what they did find, was where we did our habitat management work. If they were going to try to stop it on the west coming towards the town of Eagle Nest or Angel Fire, that was where the break was going to be. So successful from a wildlife standpoint, but also mitigating fire impacts towards town has also been a success with that. But continuation of our habitat, and Commissioner Ramos, you mentioned some about the Habitat Stamp Project. The department over the last year has partnered with private landowners, BLM state, basically every land entity in the state except for BIA, to implement habitat restoration across the state. We had 36,000 actual acres that were either cut, burned, or masticated, or wetlands restored across the state. So that doesn't include the planting areas or anything like that. That's 36,000 of actual acres that we implemented in the state this last year. That's about $5 million that we spent on the ground on implementation, either through PR funding or department funds. And then another $2 million in the last year on planning to get to the next phase. The planning that we were doing in the Sacramento Mountains and then also in North Central up in the GMU 52, 51, it will open up approximately 240,000 acres where we could move into the future to start doing some implementation on watershed, forest restoration, et cetera. One of the other ones that we really worked on in the last year was on Bernardo and La Jolla Wildlife Management Area. There's a lot of salt cedar and Russian olive that are invasive in there. We're planning on taking out 1,100 acres of that in this next year. We had it all cleared this year. But one of the two things we did this year was really improve and redo the Tour Loop Road. That's getting a lot of use. We probably have a record number of Rocky Mountain population of the sandhill cranes in the Bernardo this year. It's probably over 20,000 birds sitting there. And the number of visitors coming on a daily basis from around the world, around the country especially, is increased significantly. And with the government shutdown, it's only increased more because that's where everyone's going to view cranes, take pictures of cranes this year. And we redid that road, and it really has shown that we can draw in kind of those wildlife viewers into that area. The other thing we did was we redid all the parking lots to redistribute duck hunters across the La Jolla waterfowl area, both the north and the south, and it kind of is helping to try to redistribute some of that crowding that we've received in there in the past. And two things that kind of in rulemaking, as you guys are all well aware of these two, but two things that I think is kind of monumental is the revision of our private land use systems for pronghorn and for elk. As you well know, the elk was really to try to better recognize those landowners that are making a contribution to elk and try to help meet our management goals across the state for elk management, not only on private land, but across the forest. And then also pronghorn, working over a year and a half with constituents to try to get to a place where we felt like we had a good rule and a path moving forward to try to hunt pronghorn on private land while providing some opportunities on public land that were previously not allowed. We didn't have because of either signed agreements or some other thing. So those were two programs that haven't really been touched in a long time that we were able to go in and accomplish some revisions. And the last thing I want to touch on is kind of a wildlife nuisance. We talk about attack teams, and we talked about responding to nuisance animals, but prevention is something we also try to work with. And one of the big ones is the Los Alamos area, where we've gone in with the city of Los Alamos, them providing the non-federal match necessary to bring in some PR money or state wildlife grant money to help out with redoing their trash systems. That picture there on the left was passed throughout the nation. That bear was actually in a dumpster when it was dumped and climbed up over the top. But it showed the issues we had with nuisance bears coming into town, creating problem bears. We went in and did 13 of those trash dumpster receptacles across big businesses that had produced a lot of trash, including the hospital, which is one of the biggest producers. And then at the residential areas in the last year, we purchased 300 trash cans that are bear-proof to try to reduce bears coming into town, trying to reduce a potential conflict in that nuisance. And with that, I take any questions.
Y'all did a lot last year. What do you got planned for this year? What's the follow-up?
More of the same?
Take a vacation. I didn't get to ask a question about the fish, and maybe you asked it, but those legislative mandates to do 600 and some thousand pounds, is that changed every year, or is that just...
Mr. Chairman, I will defer to Director Sloan on that. He's got a longer history. I believe they've been the same.
Director Fish, what's the...
Mr. Chairman, it's part of the Government Accountability Act, and in fact, they are set each year. We get some input on it, but the legislature doesn't, in fact, adopt them each year.
And then on the angler satisfaction, is that an arbitrary percentage? I mean, somebody just chose 85% out of the air, or...
That's correct, because the first year that we did it, we were at 76% or something, and it was supposed to be 75%, so they keep inching it up every year.
And is that something they vote on every session?
I think it's part of the budget bill, and yeah.
It is part of the budget bill.
Well, you do this job long enough, you'll learn almost everything, so that's a little surprising to me.
So it's a good thing they don't write a lot of citations, because those people wouldn't be in the top 90, would they? I don't think.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into a satisfied angler that's beyond our control.
Right.
Right.
And Mr. Chairman, while I can't cite them off the top of my head, I know that we do have a number of other performance measures for all of our programs, acres of habitat restored and those kinds of things.
So I pat Mr. Varela on the back and saying that an audit doesn't come together in one day, but the same thing is true for the work that everyone who presented on this agenda item. It doesn't come together in one day. It's every day, and then it's over a course of years, laying the groundwork, having the right attitude. So my hat's off to everybody. That was a great year, and I'm sure we'll go on to other great years, but you hit that one out of the park.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good. Yeah.
Very exciting.
Celebration. Good job.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I'd also, as you noted, our Administration Division, or ASD, Administrative Services, has done a great job, as the audit shows, but I'd also like to mention our IT Division, which ensures that everybody gets their applications in, supports all of our employees and their ability to use the computer system and keep us operational. So I'd like to thank them as well.
Right on. Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Agenda item number 13, update on development of shooting ranges in New Mexico.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I've come here today to talk to you a little bit about a few ranges that we have in progress right now in New Mexico. The Stephen M. Bush Memorial Shooting Range, range enhancement project at the Albuquerque Trap Club, and then the Clovis Range at Ned Hoke Park. For starters, I'm really pleased today to be reporting that we have received approval from Fish and Wildlife Service on our construction grant for this project. Bids closed just a couple weeks ago, and we are in the progress of finalizing the selection for the construction company to produce this range. That means within the next couple of weeks, we are actually building this range. And that's something that I'm very pleased to be reporting, because I know quite often when I've come before you, we've talked a lot about, well, this compliance, that compliance. We've got to work through this hoop, that hoop. And as you'll recall from the Tres Piedras range, we really are sitting right now at a spot where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Almost gold shovel time, right?
Almost gold shovel time. As you recall, this range is going to feature a 10 to 90-yard archery range, 50-yard small-bore rifle ranges, 50-yard pistol ranges, a 200-yard rifle range, and, of course, a shotgun range with a 5-stand overlay on it. This will be quite a nice facility located for residents up in northeastern New Mexico, and something that I think we can really be excited about and see the fruits of our labor on. On the Albuquerque Trap Club front, we also received approval for our grant to complete compliance work on this project. This is a short turnaround project, so compliance will be quite short, and we'll be moving to the construction of it very soon. What we will be building on this particular site is going to be a 5-stand station for them. This will be different for the Albuquerque Trap Club, as everything that they have laid out right now is trap houses. This is a great partnership that we've pulled together, because it's going to increase an opportunity for public access, and as well as providing us a good training facility for small game hunting, such as dove, quail, and waterfowl, in a location that is central to New Mexico's largest urban population. We're really excited about the opportunity this one has presented us, and looking forward to this one being constructed and completed in the very near future. The Clovis Shooting Range at Ned Hoke Park is also sitting in a very good window. The grant has been submitted to provide support and funding, additional funding, for construction of this range. They have completed all the compliance work that was required for us to be eligible to get that money and help match the money that they're putting forward to create a nice facility there. Again, that's going to be another range in another location across the state that has been vastly needed for a long time. With that, I will stand for any questions.
I'll just say I'm pleased with the progress. Sometimes it looks like it's no progress, but we've made a lot over the last few years. I would respectfully request that as times change and this commission changes, keep the drive alive. I do believe these ranges supporting all forms of shooting, including archery, are important. They're a good symbol for the department, and I do believe they provide a valuable public service where they allow people to shoot in a controlled environment and cuts down on some of the rogue shooting in arroyos and other places. So I would encourage the department to keep after these, and not just for shooting purposes. Certainly there's an educational component that you can bring online in any one of these, but the first thing is you got to get them built. And so I'm very pleased with the progress that's been made. Anything else on this one? Right on. Keep at it. Thank you. Agenda item number, don't go anywhere. Agenda item number 14, update on the department's education efforts. You got something to say about this one, Ralph?
I don't know. I think I said it earlier.
You're going to have to say it again.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm happy to be talking to you today a little bit about the department's R3 efforts and our education efforts, and where we've come and where we're going with these programs and the effort that we've put forth. As you'd recall, over the last decade, you've seen the headlines touting the decline in hunting and angling participation that really has swept the country and swept the industry. New Mexico was no exception for that. We also had been experiencing decline. Fortunately, agencies like ourselves put a lot of time and effort and resources into looking to find out why we were experiencing the decline. And these lists are the exact reasons that have contributed to the cause of that decline, particularly in hunting and fishing. Of note, a few of them that are absolutely in our control has to do with the lack of mentors, some complicated hunter education requirements, schools no longer teaching wildlife conservation the way they once did, and then just dealing with access and some of those types of issues. As departments and agencies like ourselves really dug in and did the work, we really looked at the customer's path to becoming an avid participant. And this hunter-angler adoption model, I'm sure you've all seen it at least once, but we can't really look at it enough, really is the roadmap to success. This outlines the path that people take, the number of types of programs that you need to lay out there to move them through that path to become an avid. And in the past, most of our programs kind of lied pretty heavily in an awareness and interest state, but that has changed over time. And you'll notice this is something that we look at as we develop programs or we look at educational opportunities that we're throwing forth out there in the public to make sure that we're providing exactly what our next generation of customers need and want. Just to throw you a little bit of a timeline of some of the things in New Mexico that have absolutely worked, a few key benchmarks that along the way have contributed to our ability to really put a sustaining reversal on the decline in this state. Starting off with back in, well, I'm going to have to jump one more. Starting off with back in 2012, you all recalled we implemented the mandatory customer identification number. This is critical. You would be amazed how many states out there still don't have the ability to identify their specific customer and to be able to look at their buying habits over time, to even know if they've lapsed or address some of the issues of a changing market. This gave us that ability to know our customer better and to work on things that would meet the needs and expectations that they have of us. Following that, we implemented the e-license, and the ability for folks to buy a license online has been something that we were early adopters of. As other states have come on board with doing the same type of program, they've experienced much of the same result that we see here with growth. Most notably, recently, Nevada presented on their implementation of this product, and they saw a 44% increase in their license sales. The next thing we did in 2014 was to take a hard look at our education programs and outreach efforts. Those education programs had long focused on traditional classroom-type education. We took a very skills-based approach in 2014, and again, trying to meet the need of a changing customer. And then the last major step is that once we had built it, we've expanded the way we market it and communicate what has changed and what we offer at the department, and it's had a significant outcome. I think the numbers really speak for themselves. Over the course of time from 2011 to 2017, we've seen a 75% increase in license sales and 172% in the fishing realm. I think those are not only significant, but they've put our state as one of two states that have really shown a sustained increase in reversing that trend. Again, for 50 years, the department had focused all of our efforts on traditional educational approaches. And today I'm just going to take a kind of highlight look at the one area that was within our I&E division that we focused in on, and that was this shift to skills-based education. For 50 years, we had done traditional education. We hung our hats of success as being our safety record. And what that failed to do was to create any sustainable participation in hunting and angling. Quite frankly, it failed to inspire the next generation of hunters and anglers to be outdoors. Teaching outdoor education indoors just doesn't quite get the job done. So once we made that change, the face of our programs really changed. Today, our programs look much more like this. We have a lot of skills-based, hands-on hunting, fishing, outdoor education type classes that take place at camps in the outdoors. Skills, and just to flip through a few photos so that you can see the difference in what a student looks like when they're actually learning skills-based training in that environment, very different than what you'd see in the classroom. By no means this was a heavy lift for the department, and just focusing in again on my 6 programs numbers, division has 13 educators and 15 information staff members, professional staff members, that provided last year 526 skills-based education classes. That's almost 2 a day. And broken down across these, you can see that was quite an effort. The outcome of that was that in 2011, we were reaching less than 1% of New Mexico's total youth population. Today's program just wrapped up, and we reached 48,103 of New Mexico's nearly 500,000 youth under the age of 18, which is almost 10% of the population. I'd challenge anybody out there to take that number of folks and go out and reach that many people. This is a focus just on our youth as well. One of the other changes that we integrated as we went along the way was recognizing the need for continuation with support for new hunters and anglers. And so, while our programs still have much of that youth focus, we have also made sure that we include parents and families into these programs, and when they show up to a program that they expected might just be a youth program, they quickly find themselves as a student and in the learning environment. Hyperly critical that we continue to teach that generation how to get their own children out to hunt and fish and do these types of things. As we move forward into the coming years, you can expect that not only will we continue to do more programs like this based off the success that we've seen, but we're also beginning to put a lot of effort into evaluating each of our programs so that we have a better understanding of which of them work best, and we can streamline those efforts. I think this will be critical for continued growth in participation, and is definitely something that this department can be proud of. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions? Bob?
You said there were two states. What's the other state?
Commissioner Redcliffe, the other state is Oregon.
Really?
Oregon has taken a similar approach to much of what we're doing, including putting an R3 coordinator on staff that really looks at pushing these programs in this similar direction.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Just a comment, Vice Chairman. Lance, fantastic job on what you've accomplished. I was just looking at the OHV numbers. It looks like is there a lot of participation in that program? Or
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Peterson, that program continues to grow. It is one of those programs that we're not completely satisfied yet with the reach. We know there are more kids out there riding OHVs than we've managed to reach with, in particular, the safety training aspect of it. And we just continue to grow that program, knowing that as we develop opportunities, interest will increase as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just a comment. I mean, it seems like a lot of people out there riding don't know the rules. You see a lot of them without their helmets on, and I don't know what we could do to maybe inform the public better of the rules. I know there at the Glade Run, if there was a sign there, and there may be one there, I haven't seen it, but kind of post, I mean, people actually riding without their helmets is what, a $500 fine? And maybe some public information that we could put out there.
Chairman, Commissioner Peterson, the Glade Run, responding first to that, as part of that project in doing all that trail work and adding that infrastructure in place, that is something that was absolutely front of mind to place into there. Still, much like a lot of programs that are somewhat new, and OHV I still consider somewhat new to the department. I recognize it may take us a little time, but we certainly are tackling new ways and methods to deliver that message statewide. Again, with that Safety SAM that we got, that was something that we knew we could use to get into the classroom and get in front of an environment where a lot of kids are. And in particular, it's the kids that we really need to reach to change an entire culture of a generation and to be safety focused.
Well, great job.
Lance, on that OHV, now that we're still on that topic, have we reached out to all the rural or even the small towns? Because some towns have approved, through their city councils and stuff like that, and some have not. And then maybe on our website, posting something, which towns do allow the vehicles that are licensed, the ATVs on the street legal, all that stuff on there. It just would be a little bit easier, but I know it's new and you can't do it all overnight, so keep plugging away on that.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, that actually is exactly what we've been doing the past year. Okay. In that program. We have become the clearinghouse for finding the information on the different laws in the different towns, strategically setting ourselves up to be the go-to people for that kind of information, and with a mindset that if we're the go-to people, it's much easier to get these additional messages out in front of that audience moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
Make it look easy. But thank you for your hard work. It's a never-ending process, and it's even since I've been on the commission, it's ramped up a lot. And my hat's off for using new and different ways of getting to kids. That's a challenge. It's a challenge. So getting through to them and making things interesting to them is a big deal, and it looks like you're having success. So keep at it. I appreciate it.
One other question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Lance, all these projects that you talked about are federal aid supported to 75-25?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, Many of them are. There are some that fall in a different realm, such as OHV, that do not fall within that same structure. They're part of a trail safety fund as opposed to being able to access sport fish restoration dollars.
But even some of those that don't fall under PRDJ, those are funded from some other sources that aren't Game Protection Fund dollars, correct?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Montoya, that is correct.
All right, right on. Can I get a motion to adjourn into closed executive session, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn into executive session close to the public pursuant to Section 1015-1H2 NMSA 1978 to discuss limited personnel matters relating to complaints and discipline pursuant Section 1015-1H8 NMSA 1978 to discuss property acquisition and pursuant to Section 1015-1H7 NMSA on matters subject to attorney-client privilege relating to threatened or pending litigation in which the commission and or department is or may become a participant as listed in agenda item 15, subsequent subsections A, B, and C.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Chase.
Here. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Commissioner Salapak.
Yes.
Commissioner Rickliffs.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Montoya.
Yes.
Chairman Kinzel.
Yes, and before we adjourn, absolutely here, I do want to thank Jacob Payne, who's not here with us today. He has done yeoman work for the department, was the department's lawyer. I believe he may not be the lawyer anymore, but, numbers 1 through 12 on my agenda here to talk about lawsuits. He's managed all of those very well. So he is missed and will continue to miss him, and I thank him for his good work. So whoever sees him, tell him I said nice things about him. So thank you. We can break. All right. This commission had adjourned into executive session, closed to the public. During the executive session, the commission discussed only those matters specified in its motion to adjourn, and it took no action as to any matter. Agenda item number 16. Can I get a motion as to the 160 potential property acquisition on 160 acres of the Kaiser property in Roosevelt County, adjacent to the Crossroads Number 1 Prairie Chicken area? Mike, what kind of, or Mr. Director, what kind of motion do you need from us?
Mr. Chairman, I think a motion authorizing the department to proceed with property acquisition and work through the chairman for any signature that might be required would be an appropriate motion at this time.
Can I say so moved?
Yes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Public comment. I have one public comment card, but there is no, strictly speaking, public. Are you going to speak up? But that's fine. There's no card from you, but I'll make an exception this time.
This is not on a rule change or anything.
No, I'm being facetious.
John.
Uncharacteristically short. John Crenshaw, President, New Mexico Wildlife Federation, retired from Game and Fish. And I just want to say, I thought I was monitoring the department's activities, and no surprise, I was again very, very surprised at the depth and breadth of what this outfit does. It's always been a leader. It's always been an innovator. Early adapters of new technology and science. You got a real crackerjack team here, and the state ought to be proud of you, and I sure am.
All right. I'll pay you your $20 after a while, John.
I agree.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Dax, anything to say? I think you may be the last member of the public.
I wasn't going to say anything, but thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, well.
And I would reiterate what John just said. I really appreciate all the information at this meeting and would second some of the comments that Commissioner Ramos made about the value. And I probably learned more at this commission meeting about some of the department's activities than I have at any other meeting. And Would love to see more presentations along these lines. Really excited to learn about the riparian map in the Upper Rio Grande area. I think that's going to be extremely valuable tool. So just thank you, and keep it up, and good work to the department.
Thank you. Right on. Anything else?
Just one last comment. I know, but I think it's worthy. Director Sloan, and possibly like the presentation that was given today, I think they just gave us a snapshot on those, and possibly in the future we do maybe a commission workshop prior to our meeting, open to the public for awareness on what exactly we're doing in a more depth session, broken sessions throughout a day or whatnot. But those are my 2 cents, and I'm sure, well, that's where I'm at.
All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's have it.
Good.
Workshop would be great.